Get your pot on the stove. Get about a medium-high heat underneath it. And what we're going to do is we're going to bring this up to a simmer. Okay, once again, this is going to pull the impurities off. Once the impurities rise to the top, just take a ladle or a spoon and just skim off those impurities, throw them out. Okay, then we're going to take this. Once the impurities have been skimmed off, we're going to strain it off, set our meat aside, rinse it off in cool water, and then we're going to start the cooking process. Okay, once you've got the impurities out, we've cut it down. We can strain this to a colander, or you can use a spider. Just pull out your blanched pork, and we will rinse a little cold water on it. Okay. You can omit this step if you like, but it keeps your sauce nice and white at the end. Okay, in a smaller pan, we're going to go ahead and make our blonde roux. Got our clarified butter in there. If you don't turn up your heat too high, you can use just a whole butter. I'm going to cook it until we get the floury flavor out of it. I'm going to pull that off. Okay, we've got our already cooked pork, or blanched pork, back in our pan. We're going to cover it with stock. You really want enough to actually cover all the pork. You're going to simmer it in there, and this is going to also tenderize. So I'm going to recommend about 8 ounces of stock, maybe a little smaller pan. We're also going to put in our sachet de piece and our onion with a clove stuck in it for flavor. You're not going to use a whole onion. I did about an eighth of an onion. Over your sachet de piece, bay leaf, thyme, peppercorn, and parsley stems. Get that going. We're going to simmer that. Your recipe says for an hour and a half. I would say 30 minutes. The pork shoulder is a little more tender than veal, which is the classical meat that's used in this. And we'll come back when that comes to a simmer. Okay, this has been cooking for about 30 minutes. What we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and strain the meat out and our sachet and onion. Put it in a separate container. We'll pull the onion and the sachet and throw those away. Now what we want to do is we want to reduce our stock by about half. I know you have measurements in your recipe, but basically reduce it by about half. In a small pan, start your roux, your flour, your butter. Once you get your roux done, we're going to strain this hot liquid into that. Once we reduce that by half. Okay, in a smaller pan, we're going to go ahead and make our blonde roux. Got our clarified butter in there. If you don't turn up your heat too high, you can use just a whole butter. I'm going to cook it until we get the floury flavor out of it. Okay. I'm going to pull that off. Okay, so what we're doing now is we're building our velouté. Strain this stock in there. You're just setting your pork aside. This thickens up. You may need to add some more chicken stock. We've got our nice light velouté. We'll let that simmer for a minute. We can add a little bit of salt. We are going to take a little of that sauce, add it to a yolk, kind of whip it in. Take some of your velouté. We're going to mix that in with your egg yolk. We're going to add that back to our velouté. This is going to richen it. This is called a liaison. We'll mix it in there. We don't want to bring it to a boil again once we get that egg yolk in there. We're going to add some heavy cream. Okay. And now we're going to add back in our pork.